Hi everyone, welcome to Doodle Therapy, a new weekly drawing show here on Adobe Live. I'm your host, Alice. It's great to see all of you guys in the chat. If you're joining us live, feel free to just give a shout and introduce yourself in the chat, maybe where you're tuning in from. And since we just watched the last stream with Howard about, and the theme was around, making an ice cream app, why don't we also share your favorite ice cream flavor or the flavor of ice cream that you're craving right now? So my name is Alice. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm your host for today. I would love some watermelon ice cream, actually, it's summer. Hey to Raphael, Ariana, Jessela Yumi. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. Feel free to correct me. And to Anthony, and hey to Wendy, who says that she loves my earrings. So the earrings are actually kind of on theme for today. Basically, the way that this show works, if you're new here, is this is basically a time for us to come together and draw, express ourselves, and just have a really chill hour of just being with our creative community here, learning a little bit about painting and drawing, but also taking the time to share how we're doing, reflect, introspect, and express ourselves through the conversation and the chat. Every week, the way it works is that we have a different theme. So last week we drew, fantastic creatures. The previous week we drew our feelings. This week is all about making fashion illustrations. So that's why I ended up creating these Animal Crossing themed earrings, which we'll get to in a little second. Hi to everyone joining us. Hey to Miguel. Hey to Khadija from Philadelphia, I went to school there. Hey to Caroline, who loves hazelnut. Cheryl with Oreo McFlurry. Tanya, Chloe, Sailor HG, aka Amy, and to Stella. So welcome if you're new here, and if you're joining us on YouTube, head on over to Behance, that's the chat that I'm checking. So just to start off, a little bit about me. Like I mentioned, I'm an illustrator and a muralist based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Here's some of my work that you may have seen around or on the internet. Some recent places that I've painted at include the Asian Art Museum, Phil's Coffee, Coach, etc. And I've also done a lot of work for tech companies in the Bay. And I am really excited to start with this week's prompt. Hi to everyone again joining us in the chat. So, oops, it looks like this is, sorry about that, guys. So, basically, the way that we're gonna, start off today is I've created a little template that you can check out on in the description, and I think we're also going to post it in the chat. We're going to basically be drawing cute outfits and clothes and fashion. So the reason why I wanted to have this prompt this week is because, a lot of us have been sheltering in place or in quarantine. And so that's also changed, the style of the clothing that we've worn. I know for me, I've typically like to dress up a little bit more when I go out, but since I've mostly been at home, I'll default to sweats. And I think that fashion can actually be a really powerful way of expressing yourself. Sometimes it can be a palette of what you want to say to the world. Sometimes it can be an armor. And so I wanted to focus this week's session around, drawing clothes and outfits that you like. It could be, an outfit that you recently wore last week in quarantine, or maybe a cool outfit that you spotted, or your dream clothes. But you're totally welcome to draw along. You can start from scratch, either in your preferred drawing app like Photoshop or with markers or pencil, or you can even pull up the sketch template that I've included in the description, and we'll drop it in the chat as well. And so basically, this is the file that you'll get to open up if you want to follow along with my template. And I've already drawn these two characters who are just dashing about town. And if you would like to follow along with the template, you can kind of use the clothes that I already have as a starting point and just start to draw, you know, different patterns or textures or like interesting aspects of the outfit on top of that. So you're totally welcome to use my sketch as a jumping off point, and that's what I'll be doing as well. And I'll also be taking suggestions from the chat of what to draw, so feel free to give your inputs as well. So thanks for joining to Anna, to Shirley, and to everyone else. And thanks for the kind words about my earrings. I made them in honor of this stream because I, you know, wanted to do something on theme with fashion. So I'm just gonna get started with this activity. Also, the way that Doodle Therapy works is it's an interactive show. So if you end up following along and drawing your outfit or a character with a fun fashionable outfit, feel free to share that sketch or that final piece either on Instagram, Twitter, Behance, or in the Photoshop Discord. And I will be selecting one winner who submits to win a giveaway prize print. So if you follow along and share your work, I'll take a look and I'll be selecting one winner tomorrow. Hey to Isabel for joining, and thanks to Sam for posting the starter file in the chat. So like I mentioned, you don't have to use this starter file if you kind of want to just do your own thing. This is just, you know, if you want to build off of an existing frame that I have. So cool, I am just gonna get started with this sketch. So I have drawn these two girls, and the first thing that I usually do when I am making a fashion-inspired drawing is I like to look on the internet or through my own photo roll on my camera for inspiration. So in this case, I just took a look on Pinterest for some Tokyo street fashion, and I was really inspired by these outfits. And you can totally do the same by Googling or going on Pinterest or even fashion blogs or Instagram accounts, and just take a look at the cool fashion that's out there. Check out magazines, publications, and I'm not gonna necessarily copy these mood boards, but it just kind of gives this like vibe that I'm going for. So it's this really colorful, almost like 90s vibe. And you can totally customize your piece according to your inspirations on your mood board. So I am just going to get started with this. So what I usually like to do is just to first draw out the silhouette, which I've done here. And then I'll just go in and I'll just start to think about, you know, the different patterns that I want to have on my piece. So I was thinking that for this piece, it might be kind of cool to draw like an animal pattern on her prints. I mean, on her like wavy pants. So if anyone has like a favorite animal request that you think would be fun for me to draw, feel free to drop it in the chat. And if you have any questions as well about this activity, feel free to let me know. But just to start off, I am going to just start by drawing some cool koi fish. And these are not pants that I own, but I wish that I had these. So if anyone knows of a fashion designer who has koi fish inspired pants, let me know. And let me know if you have any questions. I was watching an earlier stream, the one that happened just a few hours ago, and someone, I think Howard in the chat, started singing the Pokemon song, and so now it's literally stuck in my head. If you know it, let me know. It goes, I want to be the very best. Let me know if you can complete the sentence. Ooh, cool. Okay, so Wendy suggesting otters, Shirley suggesting sloths, Stella suggesting foxes, Ariana suggesting flamingos, and there's sea otters, frogs. That's cute. I think I might draw a frog for the main shirt. An orca. Ooh. Oh, awesome. Looks like there are some Pokemon fans in the chat. Yeah, let's see if we can keep this going. So to train them is my cause. I want to travel across the land, ... And to answer your question, Rita, I am using a Wacom 22 HD tablet, and I'm using a MacBook, and I'm also using Photoshop. I also like to draw on the iPad too. I will often use the iPad for sketching and setting up a piece before I kind of jump into drawing it. So, okay, cool. So these pants are going to be fish, and then I think I saw someone saying a frog. So maybe instead of having this flower purse, I'll erase it. And if you're following along, you're totally also welcome to, you know, edit my file. I'm not attached to it. And I'll draw a frog. So I actually have a frog on my ear, and it's a character in Animal Crossing. Huh. Thanks for the suggestions, guys. Yeah, so I know that a lot of people love Animal Crossing here, so I'm wondering if there are any Animal Crossing lovers in the chat. I noticed that there was a super fun Animal Crossing themed design stream earlier today, so I know that there is some design community / Animal Crossing fandom happening. To answer your question, Amy, the frog on my earring is Lily. And to answer your question, Santi, I don't think that it's ever too late to download Animal Crossing. So thanks again to Sam, our wonderful moderator, for sharing the links to the Illustrator Discord, and there's also a Photoshop Discord in which, you know, it's a really active community. People post their submissions for the daily challenges. People also post, you know, just stuff that they're working on in general, and I think that it's really cool that it's such a collaborative community where people give feedback on each other's work. If you end up also following along and drawing an outfit or some fashionistas, whether or not you're drawing along with my template or doing something from scratch on your own, feel free to share it on social media and just tag me at @byAliceLee, or you can share it into the Photoshop Discord at the design-other channel. I'll take a look, and the winner will receive a print. So what I'm basically doing here, and how I like to start things off, is I'm just doing a really light outline of these characters, trying to just get the gist of what I want to draw. So I might end up changing the actual silhouette later on. And as you can see, I actually already started to fill in the character a little bit. But you can kind of get a sense of basically what I'm doing is using the guide that I have underneath right here as the outline. And then I'm tracing it, but I'm also now going to just refine the shape as I think about drawing this character. And that's something that you can do if you're following along, or if you don't feel like coloring in your piece, you can just keep it on the line level. But basically the reason why I wanted to share this sketch version is you can either build on it like building blocks and add your own accessories, clothes, textures, patterns, or you can treat it more like a coloring book and take it to a more painterly final state. So I've already kind of set up the file just for the purpose of the stream, but if you're following along and have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I'm seeing here that there's a bunch of people who are playing Animal Crossing in the stream. That's awesome. Stella, that's really awesome that your husband got you a Switch and Animal Crossing as an early birthday present. That's very thoughtful. Cool, so now I'm going to just use these birds that I've outlined, these fish that I've outlined, and start blocking off the shapes for how I want them to look. And so if you watched my streams before, I really like to work first in terms of shape, and then I'll go back and refine the color a little bit more. But really what I want to get a sense of is the balance of the composition. I just want to make sure that everything matches the overall layout that I want to have first before I go in and start thinking about lighting and all of that. Wendy says they've recently checked how many hours they've played, and it appears to be frightening. Yeah, I don't want to know how many hours I've played. For those who haven't played Animal Crossing, which I feel like I can kind of relate to because I recently got into Animal Crossing, I'm a very new fan. You might be wondering why people are so into Animal Crossing, and I think that it's just a really fun game that there's not necessarily a end point. There's no winning the game. You can build your own world and have your own goals, and in that sense it really feels like there's something for everyone. For example, you can decorate your island, and I think that that's a really creative way that people can express themselves through the game. You can breed rare flowers, which is what I've been doing. So I think that there's just a lot of things that appeal in a lot of different ways for people in general. So Chloe wants to know what programs and tools are my go-to. So I would probably say I think Photoshop is definitely my automatic go-to. If there's some way that I can, if Photoshop has a counter of how many hours you've spent in it, it would be really high and I might cry. It would be literally months, but yeah, I feel like Photoshop is my most used app, even compared to just an internet browser. So I almost feel like I live in Photoshop, and I also use my iPad quite a bit for drawing, and sometimes I'll use Illustrator, Lightroom, the other the vector tools if I'm doing something like creating a logo, but I feel like I pretty much live in Photoshop. And the crazy thing is that even though I feel like I've spent years in Photoshop, there's so many features that I feel like I'm always just discovering. I didn't know the extent of the timeline tool, which is what you can use to make GIFs, which is pretty cool. Santi wants to know, so Santi is using Photoshop on iPad. What brushes do I recommend? So I am using Kyle's brushes, and I feel like for a lot of artists that those are the go-tos. The brushes are free if you actually have Creative Cloud, and they're just so good. This is actually a brush by Kyle. I don't remember which pack it's from, but it's a pastel brush, I believe. So yeah, If anyone has any brush suggestions in the chat, feel free to drop it in. Cool. So, oh, thanks to Jeffrey for dropping in the links to Kyle's brushes. Isabella wants to know if I use Procreate on iPad. Yeah, I use a mix of Procreate and Fresco. I think that both apps are handy for different reasons. I actually recently worked on a book cover for Shirley's book, who's in the chat. I drew most of it on my iPad in Fresco, and I really liked that there wasn't a limit on the number of layers, because I tend to like to separate every element onto a separate layer. Cool. Cool. Thanks to everyone for sharing their resources in the chat. I'd love to know, if anyone is working on any fun side projects. Like yesterday, I ended up just setting aside the day to create these earrings that are Animal Crossing themed. I share a studio in San Francisco with a bunch of friends who are also artists, and before quarantine, we used to have these monthly events called Crafternoon, so afternoon crafting. And so I'm wondering if anyone else has, any personal Crafternoon hobbies that you've been working on or that you would love to share with everyone. Oh, cool. Gabriella says that they're redoing their website and branding. And if you have any questions about color blocking, feel free to drop it in the chat. But hopefully, this process is something that you can follow along with. I basically just first drew the outline, and then now I'm coloring in the sketch. It's almost like a coloring book in a way. Except I'm also making edits at the same time. Shirley in the chat says that she is making resin and earrings. That's so cool. Ooh, Yeliana says that they are working on cute USBs with polymer clay. What is a USB? Is it like as in the USB stick, or is it something else? And Amy has been working to replace her controller cases to be clear with pink buttons. That's amazing. Wow, you guys are so creative. So these pants are turning out to be kind of this like cool, funky neon color, which I'm into. I'll probably have to change it a little because I don't think they really read as fish right now, but it's kind of a fun, experimental way to just block out some colors really quick, get out my ideas. One thing that I also wanted to highlight on this week's stream is every week that we do the stream, I want to highlight a different organization, resource, or project that in some way is supporting and advancing the Black Lives Matter movement. And so, last week we shared petitions for the arrest of the officers involved in Breonna Taylor's case. And this week, I wanted to share this great resource called Letters for Black Lives. And I think we can just drop it in the chat really quick. But basically, it's a project that I believe is now open sourced, and it's a collection of letters that serve as good starting off points to have conversations with parents, relatives, etc. in languages that are not English. So for me, I'm Chinese American. All my relatives are Chinese and primarily are based in China. So sometimes I've found it to be a little bit challenging to talk about Black Lives Matter because I don't have the vocabulary. Like literally, it's hard to know what to say. And so one thing that's been very helpful with a resource like this is it just puts vocabulary and phrases things well in the native tongue that I might not necessarily have, as English is my first language. So if you are someone who is looking for a resource to kind of help have those conversations with your family, relatives, family, friends, definitely check that out. I just want to highlight that for this week's resource. Cool. So also, let me know if you have any questions about my process right now. So just to kind of break it down, I'm going to be drawing these two characters. I've started to customize the outfits a little bit, thanks to people who submitted suggestions in the chat. And so now I'm going to be just painting in the details, and then once I finish all of that, I'm gonna tweak the colors, add in a little bit more lighting, stuff like that, all the fun stuff. But just to start, I think it's important to have a good foundation. Also, if you've been enjoying the music that we're listening to, I just want to give a shout out to Lullitone. They're the band behind this lovely soundtrack. They're one of my favorite musical artists to listen to while I'm painting, just because they're so chill. I feel like I've painted so many murals while jamming out to Lullitone. I've also spent a lot of airplane rides listening to Lullitone. Unrelatedly. So if you're a fan of theirs, feel free to check them out. They're a husband and wife duo based in Tokyo, Japan. Oh, Nora asked a great question, is what resolution am I working at? So for those of you who may have downloaded my file, you may have noticed that I set the resolution to 300 dpi, which is a bit high if you are working just for the stream. Typically, you would just need 72 dpi, but I like to have it at 300 and sometimes even 450, because if I want to size things up to be twice the size of my original canvas, if I set it at 300 and it's for screen, which is 72, then I can easily do that without missing out on the resolution. And at the same time, if I want to print it, that keeps that option open, because printing, it's good to have it at 300 dpi or higher or lower depending on the context. Like, I know for like billboards, for example, it doesn't have to be quite as high. So yeah, that's a trick that I learned from a previous Adobe Live, actually. So lots of cool lessons that you can learn here. And I think it works well, especially when you're doing stuff in a raster format, which is what Photoshop is. And if you're working in Illustrator, you obviously don't have this problem because vector will scale. So Santi, the music actually, I licensed it. So unfortunately, you know, it's not something that you can just use for free in general, but if you email them, they're like really receptive. And you can ask them about potentially licensing it. I don't know if I like this stripe. I'm gonna take it off for now. Cool, so I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start to now just focus on the coloring for the pants. Actually, no, I'm gonna keep drawing the rest of the outfit just because I think maybe it's a little too early for that. So now I'm going to draw in the frog guy. So thanks, I think it was Amy, for suggesting the frog. He's very cute. Yeah, Santi, I think like sometimes when I'll go on Twitch, sometimes I'll see like there's parts of a streamer's stream that are like X'd out because they played played a song that was had a copyright on it, which is obviously good. It prevents music theft. So I just wanted to check in with them beforehand. Frog. So, as I'm kind of just zooming out again, the vibe that I want to go for is very youthful, very bright, very energetic, almost like a 90s feel, which is, I think, sort of represented in a lot of these like Harajuku inspired fashions that I found on Pinterest. And the pink bow shoes were inspired by my studio mate, Amy. And so I think that, drawing a frog character really matches that vibe. It's what I'm trying to go for. It's like this young, very youthful, bright, cheerful, very extra set of outfits. And I think this is fun because I don't know about you guys, but since I've been in quarantine, I've ended up just lounging around a lot more in sweatpants and more comfy clothes, but I've definitely missed putting on like a fabulous coat and just like going out and stuff. So just wondering if anyone else has a similar feeling. Sometimes, I'll just get dressed up for no reason, even though I'm not gonna go and see any other friends. I'll just wear like a extra nice dress or do my hair in a nice way, because I think that it matters to take care of yourself and to express yourself even when you don't have as many people around to necessarily like see your outfit. Cool, got this little frog dude. Thanks again for the suggestion, Amy. And so actually last week we had a really interesting discussion in the chat about childhood inspirations of cartoons, TV shows, graphic novel series that everyone watched. And we had a really great discussion, particularly around the anime that people watched and the manga. So I think that part of my desire to draw these fashion girls this week and make that the theme was because I watched a lot of America's Next Top Model when I was like in middle school and high school. And then I also went back and I reread a lot of Naruto, which is a manga series after our stream. And so I I think that's where this like Japanese inspired fashion has come from for me. So thanks to everyone for participating in last week's chat and inspiring this. Cool, so now I'm gonna just draw the face of a frog. Does anyone actually have frog outfits like this? Because that would be amazing. And then I think frogs have like this kind of eye, I think. Thanks to Isabella in the chat for publishing the Black Lives Matter resource on your page. I think that, you know, it can be really hard to talk about these sorts of things with family members who may be resistant to these types of conversations. But I actually think that one really powerful thing that all of us can do is talk to our parents about it, talk to our relatives. Because if you think about it, like you are uniquely positioned as a child, relative, cousin, friend in their life to hear about these things, as opposed to, you know, like a faceless news commentator. And I think that that's a powerful thing that each of us can probably do. Gabriella asks what tablet I'm working on. No worries. I'm working on a Wacom tablet. It's a Cintiq. It's my favorite. It's my baby. I've had it since 2014, and I actually have named it. So because it's a Wacom Cintiq, I named it Cinderella. Because my friend named his Cindy. So Cindy and Cinderella, the two tablets. Cool, so this is my frog. And I might add a little set of things. And so you might notice that I really like to rotate my canvas a lot, and that's just because I find it easier instead of moving my wrist. I'm curious if anyone has been reading any good books recently, or watching any fun TV shows. I've started reading So You Want to Talk About Race, and I've also been watching a lot of America's Next Top Model. Oh wow, Nora says that they have external drives named after Powerpuff Girls. Wow, that's really interesting. I wonder if anyone else has cute or fun names for your like software equipment. I know that people sometimes name their cars like fun nicknames. I have named my computers, my monitor, Cinderella. And so to answer your question, Gabriella, the way that I'm rotating is I'm pressing R and I'm rotating the canvas, and it's really useful. You just have to use your pen to rotate. And then to get back to the non-rotated state, I'll hit escape. Cute. So Amy says that she has external drives named Kiki and Gigi, which I'm assuming is based off of the Kiki's Delivery Service movie from Studio Ghibli. Anthony's Switch's name is Ace. Cute. My Switch's name is Mochi. That's my dog's name. Oh, fun. Howard says his red car's name is named Fox from Harry Potter, and Stella's black Nissan Rogue car is named Vader. That's fun. Maybe I'll name my car something too. I think I'm gonna give this character space buns, because like Sailor Moon buns. So one thing I was actually thinking about, props to Jeffrey for having this idea, is having a extension on the stream where, like, in the corner of the stream, maybe it would say like what keys I'm hitting on my keyboard, so that you guys can see the shortcuts that I'm hitting. Because for me, I think one thing I really like is utilizing keyboard shortcuts, because I want to use, you know, my right hand primarily for drawing, and then my left hand is for, my non-dominant hand is for, you know, hitting those tools. So let me know if that would be helpful to you guys. I held off on it because I didn't want it to be too confusing or cluttering, but if you're watching this and wondering, you know, how does she get this dialogue or whatever, let me know and I'll look into it. I also, you know, have a lot of custom keyboard shortcuts, which is something that you can also do in Photoshop. Oh, Deborah says yes. Okay, cool. Sounds like it would be helpful. So thanks for the feedback. I'll look into it for, if I can't get it by next stream, we're taking next week off, but I'll be back the following week. So I'll try to have it, something like that in place. And if I don't have it in place, like maybe I'll even have a, you know, common keyboard shortcuts, like cheat sheet or something on my screen, so that way it's more obvious like what tools I'm pulling up. Cool stuff. Cool, so, but I can for now just kind of describe the shortcuts that I'm using. The most common shortcuts that I use are for the eraser and the brush. Actually, the E and the B keys on my keyboard are like the most, like you can tell that I hit them the most. So B gets you to brush, which you can also see in the toolbar here, and then E gets you to the eraser. And I think one cool thing about digital drawing is that you can erase just as much as you can paint. Like normally for painting, you know, there's no, if you're actually painting analog, there's no erase function. Everything that you do is additive. But when you're working digitally, you can both work additively and subtractively with the eraser tool. So I like to really just utilize that. And I feel like I erase almost as much as I draw with the brush tool. I set up a custom shortcut for new layer. Normally to do a new layer, you have to hit one of these buttons. It's been too long for me, so I don't even remember. Yeah, that's that one. But it takes too long for me to go down there, so I'll just create a new layer. It's easy as that. And to answer your question in the chat, Nora, I like to have different layers for different colored elements. Sometimes I'll merge them down, but because I like to work in terms of shape first and foremost, so I'm really just trying to draw out the shapes and the composition. And then I'm going to adjust the color. But you can see, like, if I actually merged all of this down, which I will do really quickly, just to show you. So I merged this is all one layer. Let's say I want to change the pink pants. It's like way harder for me to do that. Or if I want to change like a very specific thing, if I, you know, adjust the colors on the whole thing, it's gonna get all messed up. So for me personally, I like to just keep it separate. which is why I have basically every layer that I may want to adjust later on a separate plane. Hope that answered your question. So we're almost at the end of our stream. We've got about 10 more minutes, but I did want to say thanks to everyone for joining. Like I mentioned, this is a new show here on Adobe. It's an idea that I pitched to the Adobe Live team like right at the start of quarantine. And it's been really cool to see the community grow and to see people following along and doing the chats and just getting to know everyone. So I just want to say it's like really appreciated, and it's a really cool experience too to just get to, you know, be a part of this community in this way. If you end up drawing along with this week's doodle challenge, which is to draw an outfit or to draw a character in an outfit, whether or not it's with the template that I included in the description or your own character drawing, feel free to share it on social media. You can catch me up here at by Alice Lee on basically almost all social medias, like Instagram, Twitter, Behance. You can message me there directly, or into the Photoshop Discord in the Design-Other channel. And then I'll take a look and I'll pick a winner of all the submissions, and then that person will receive a free print in the mail. So yeah, it's a fun snail mail treat for you. And that's just all by tomorrow, but if you end up working on it later in the week, or if you're not catching this stream live, feel free to share it too. I really love seeing everyone's artwork. Oh, and I know we started off this stream from Howard's stream, and we were talking about ice cream. So I did want to share that I found this awesome recipe to make homemade ice cream at home. It's really simple if you have frozen fruits. You just need a blender, and then you can pop all of that into the blender with a little bit of milk. If you have like honey or vanilla extract, and then it's ice cream. So yesterday I made some ice cream, and if you have fruits in the fridge, you can also do that too. And hey to Anna, yes, we are drawing a frog bag with this cool gal wearing clothes that are partially inspired by Harajuku, like Tokyo street fashion. Ooh, what kind of earrings should I give? Should I give her glasses maybe? I think glasses could be cool. It's very, I feel, very 90s. Cool, yeah. Yeah, so thanks again also to people who gave me feedback about the keyboard shortcut thing on the stream. I'll definitely try to incorporate that if I can. But in the meantime, you know, feel free to ask if you have any questions about what I'm doing. You know, as we are reaching the end of the stream today, one thing I would love to invite you guys to do is to, even though, you know, most of us are social distancing and at home, think about like your favorite outfit, like an outfit that you feel great wearing. So for me, it's probably a fun dress with like a big furry coat and giant hoop earrings and like platform sandals or something, like white platform sandals. And I would love to invite you to sometime this week just to wear that outfit around the house, in your backyard, as you're running errands. I think just because we are in quarantine, it doesn't mean that, you know, just because we're also away from each other, it doesn't mean that we have to just wear clothes that we're not necessarily excited about. And if that's what you want to do, that's totally cool. But I think for me, it's kind of an easy trap to fall into, to realize that I'm not really actually wearing anything that reflects my mood. And once I realized that and just started dressing in a way that was just fun for me and not really dressing for other people, I actually it ended up affecting my mood. Yes, and Jeffrey says backyard decks are a great place to host your own impromptu fashion show. So that's my invitation to you is, you know, when you've got a free second this week, feel free to just wear clothes that make you feel amazing and have your own little fashion show. Yeah, and Anna says to put on makeup for no reason. For me, like one thing I like to do is sometimes I'll just like wear heels when I'm drawing for no reason, even though I'm just at my computer. So yeah, that's my invitation to you, and I will definitely be doing that as well. I think that, you know, our clothes really have a big impact on our mood. Like I remember I was going through a really rough breakup, and my friend came over, and she was just like, she just looked in my closet and she just took out a dress, and it was like this bright blue dress, and she was like, tomorrow I want you to wear this dress. I know you like it and I know you like wearing it. And then I wore that dress the next day and I actually felt better, which was like so weird because you would think that it's such a superficial thing, but I think that clothes actually can have a subliminal impact on how we feel. Yeah. Chloe says that her friends are doing live makeup challenges together. That's fun. I would love to do a live makeup thing with my friends. It's a good idea. Ooh, Jeffrey has a great question, which is, does anyone here have a favorite fashion walk song to play on Spotify? Let me think. That's a good question. Maybe, Wannabe by Spice Girls. Classic. Fortunately, I think this cool strap should go behind. Oh, you know what I can do? I can just draw another strap. So this was day 1 of the stream. For day 2 tomorrow, I'm gonna just be continuing with coloring this in. Then I'm gonna start working on, you know, the shading and the lighting and the entire like scene. And if you ended up drawing along, feel free to also share your piece on social media. You can just tag me so I can see it and enter it in the giveaway or in the Photoshop Discord. It doesn't have to be a final piece. It can just be like literally a sketch or something. I've said this on the stream before, but you know, I think one of my goals with this is to just draw and not be self-conscious about it. Just to get in the practice of making stuff because it's fun. And that to me is, I think, the really like therapeutic aspect of drawing is just like not being self-conscious about what I'm making or if people will like it or not necessarily. Yeah, so thanks again to everyone for joining us and for the great conversation as usual. I hope you all end up having a wonderful rest of the afternoon. And have that fashion show, even if it's to an audience of just a few or to no one, to your stuffed animals. It's just about making yourself feel good and feeling empowered and strong. So thanks again, and see you here tomorrow at the same time, 2:30 Pacific time. Have a great rest of your afternoon.